Hello, welcome to our podcast, By God.
No. That's not how we do it. It's 1, 2, 3. By God!
Wait, do I go on 3?
Yes. 1, 2, 3.
By God!
Alright, we'll get that down.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
So, we're going to be discussing the state of WWE on these shows. The much discussed state of WWE and disputed. And we're going to be surmising the pay-per-views and the arcs of the month.
Past stuff, too. It's not all going to be current, because, the current stuff is kind of shit right now. It's in the doldrums, so
Yes.
Don't expect all current stuff, because it's hard to sit through 3 hours of Raw every week. But we have high hopes for the Royal Rumble, or at least, I'm speaking for myself. I don't know how you feel.
No.
Just to put it point blank, no.
Yes, I do not have high hopes. I have a morbid curiosity.
Well, before we get into that, let's introduce ourselves, since this is our first show, and hopefully we'll have a few listeners, like, maybe 2 or 3 who will actually give a shit.
Yes.
And those people need to know who we are.
And the 5 haters. We'll need at least 5 haters.
Yeah, we can't be random white boys. There has to be a name attached to these nasally voices of ours.
Yes.
You go.
Okay.
Who are you?
Well, I'm random white boy.
Who you are? You're what?
I'm random white boy.
Okay.
Yes.
And
my name is Daniel. And
that's your catchy talk show podcast nickname?
Oh yes.
Okay, Daniel. Wow.
Yes,
Zippy.
the notorious Daniel, spelled with 3 N's.
All right.
Mm-hmm. You can call me Daniel Danielson if you like.
Oh, nice. A little reference to the American Dragon. All right, explain why.
I don't know. I don't watch gay porn.
Oh God. Explain why you got into wrestling and when, and then I will.
I got into wrestling when I was a young boy.
Okay.
Because I'm gay.
Oh God. This is not going to be a respectable show, people. Right off the bat. This is not serious analysis. This is just goofiness. No, but like,
because it's fun, it's mindless, and especially
like
now, it's athletic. Maybe not in the Attitude Era, it wasn't that athletic.
No.
But now they're doing all the flippity flips. If you know where to watch.
So, you got into it as a young boy. You're a little older than me, so mid-90s?
Around late 90s, like Attitude Era.
Late 90s, so, okay, Attitude Era. And, just for the record, I got into it around the same time, but 99, 2000, I'd say 2000 at the latest. I was actually at a friend's house, and he had No Mercy for the N64 video game system.
Great game.
Yeah, it is. It's one of my favorite games ever. But at the time, I had really no knowledge of wrestling. I had seen NWO and Stone Cold shirts and stuff around school, but it wasn't something I watched, so I knew nothing about it. But I wanted this game after I played it because I was constantly competing with my friend, and I was like, oh, well, I have to have the shit that he has and vice versa. So, funnily enough, actually, the thing I always think about when I recall that is he was getting pissed at me for calling Edge the Edge, because I just, for some reason, couldn't get it down in my brain that it wasn't the Edge. I had a hard time saying Edge.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, once I played that game and just saw these, colorful, ridiculous characters and, basically the roster of the Attitude Era, then I started watching. But keep in mind that game came out in, 2000? So would you call that the Attitude Era when I got into it?
The tail end, that's enough of it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were still cussing and having bra and panties matches on TV.
I will say that I got in pretty much the same way. I played WWF Warzone on the PlayStation as a demo, and then I started tuning in to watch it. That wasn't a good game, though. In fact, that should have dissuaded me.
Yeah, I had I think it was called WWF Attitude for the Dreamcast.
Yes.
which that was completely different from No Mercy. It was all like combos like you would have in like a Mortal Kombat game. It sucked. But yeah, it sounds like we both got into it at relatively the same time, so there won't be any like clashing there.
But we both agree that right now it's stale.
Oh yeah, I feel like it had been going in waves since I've gotten back in the wrestling. I stopped watching in, I want to say like 2005, 2006, around the time.
I stopped watching in 2002.
Oh damn! See, so I stayed on longer than you. I got through the whole Triple H Reign of Terror or Triple H show. Whatever.
That's why I tuned out.
Yeah, it was bad. Him in his little blue trunks at the beginning of the show and at the middle and at the end. I like the Ruthless Aggression era though. I have fond memories of like
I guess you had to be there.
Huh?
I guess you had to be there.
Yeah, I mean it was certainly better than what it is now, dude. Make no mistake.
I don't know.
I love Jeff Hardy. He was my favorite wrestler. He, kind of had like that first big singles push in the early 2000s. One of my favorite matches is his ladder match with Undertaker for the title. And, you had Kane unmasking, which I know a lot of people fucking hated, but that's when I really started liking Kane. I liked his whole storyline feud with the McMahons, mainly Shane McMahon, where he fucking electrocuted his testicles and he tombstone Linda McMahon. So they were still doing, like, racy, risque, like, dangerous shit back then. Like, you really don't get any of that now, so...
Well, now we're in the PG era.
Yeah, but you can shit on the early 2000s all you want, but when you go back and watch it compared to now, it feels like the Attitude Era or like the mid-90s or like the good years. Like
it's closer. To me, there was a lot more throwaway talent, though, that were clogging up the entire show. Guys
who came over from WCW, like
yes.
Carters, because they didn't get the big names until like 2 years later.
There was a shitty mid-card.
Yeah, mid-card fodder, and that will satisfy people. See, that's another thing going back to like me getting in the wrestling and stuff. I didn't keep up with WCW. WWF was my brand. I didn't even bother with WCW, and by that time it was on its last leg anyways.
Mm-hmm.
It was around like for another year and a half by the time I got into WWF. So like
yes.
I remember not even knowing who the fuck DDP was when he took off that mask and started that angle with the Undertaker. So a lot of that it's that bad. I mean, a lot of it felt flat to me.
That's actually hilarious. I can only imagine, like, who the fuck is that guy? It's like some old guy who shouldn't be a wrestler.
Yeah, in
a rapist mask.
He looks like a fucking tattoo artist. Like, he doesn't look like a fucking wrestler. Just look like some average Joe. But yeah, like it fell flat to me. But
he has a lesbian haircut.
That fucking mullet. I like DDP though. Like not that much as a wrestler, but it's like the stuff he does outside of wrestling. Like he
fan of his yoga.
Yeah, well, not his yoga. I don't practice his yoga, but he's done good things as far as getting Jake Roberts off of drugs and stuff. So
yep, getting him off of cancer and stuff.
Yeah, getting him off of cancer. But yeah, like so you were watching still when the Alliance storyline took place, right?
That's why I stopped watching.
See, but you had a better grasp as to why it was fucking shitty, right? Because you knew who these people were and you realized there were much bigger names and a much better way of handling this.
It was not what I would have imagined this crossover being between the three companies.
Mm. Well, yeah.
It was awful.
Oh, yeah. Think about people have said this. Obviously, I'm not the first to say this, but like I just want to reiterate. Think of the fucking money they could have made off of a WCW versus ECW versus WWF. Fucking just all-out war. Like, obviously, it's kayfabe. It's not an actual war.
Mm.
But think about the money they could have made off that, and they just flushed it down the toilet.
Dude, they could have milked that for years. They could have had WCW only pay-per-views, had reunion shows just like they did with ECW in 2005.
Yeah.
There's tons of opportunities they just passed up.
I forgot to introduce myself earlier. You're Danny.
Yes.
I'm Jimmy T. Jimbo.
You're sticking with that.
Yeah, for now. This is the test run, Dan.
Okay.
We can go in and fix it in post.
All right.
But no, you actually never explained when you got back into wrestling. I got back into it in like late 2010.
2011. And I started watching because there were a couple people that, like CM Punk, who were catching my eye. They were pretty entertaining.
After his promo, it genuinely feeling like there was going to be another wrestling boom where people actually considered it somewhat cool to where you could like actually admit to where you were a wrestling fan. And
this is why I stayed watching after that. What hooked me back is it seems like they are constantly, and even now, since that interview, they've seemed on the cusp of being successful again.
Yeah.
They have all the tools to do it.
You can't word it that way because they are successful. They're the only game in town when you think about it. I mean, yeah, you have TNA.
They still don't have the ratings that they did in the Attitude Era,
No,
and that's
of course,
because that's their own fault. They could have those ratings.
Could they? Is that because of how poor the product is, or is it because of just a general apathy? Because you got to think, back in the late 90s, it was just a different time. People weren't as politically correct. We didn't have these little smartphones and gadgets to constantly occupy our time. I just feel like it's partly WWE's fault. They could be much, much better right now.
It's the product, because
really?
they're not
It has anything to do with society and just the way how jaded people are now.
I think that's what they believe.
No. So that's why they're trying to shove attitude down our throats on the network constantly. Like, here, take this attitude that you crave and that you pine for so desperately.
Here's the thing: they're not trying to impress us every week.
Well, no,
not even close.
It's like beating a dead horse. Everybody discusses this. We're not saying anything new. But it's because they don't have legitimate competition.
Yes.
That's what, like WCW was a threat to them. They were neck and neck, and well, obviously everybody knows WCW was beating them for a couple years.
The shit that WWF were doing in the early 90s that everyone hated, that got everyone to switch to WCW, is the same stuff they're doing right now.
Yeah. I don't know, when I watch NXT, and even when I caught some of Lucha Underground, I was just thinking, the problem is WWE could be edgy and could cater to adult fans, the people that stuck around, which it's a small number, I would guess, our age demographic. I'd guarantee a lot of the people that were into the Attitude Era did not stick around this long. But if they have any hope of recapturing people like, the male demographic from 18 to 30 or whatever, then they have to market it and brand it more as serious competition and good booking. Like when you watch NXT, I know there's some colorful characters and there's some stuff that caters to the kids, Bailey and shit.
Even I like some colorful characters now and then. Depending on how they're used.
That's always been a part of WWF and WWE. That has to be in there for it to be sports entertainment. Otherwise, you could just go watch Ring of Honor,
yes,
or New Japan, which I haven't even checked out New Japan, but I hear great things, obviously. But yeah, I feel like they're scared of losing the toddlers and the John Cena fans, the women and children.
Which is funny because they will watch no matter what.
But are they generating cash and that much revenue? Wouldn't catering to rabid, virgin, fat losers in their mom's basement generate more money? These are the guys, I hate to say it, losers like us are the people that will actually put money into the product. I mean, little kids, they buy action figures and shit, but so do adults.
They're not buying the tickets to the shows, and they're not buying the pay-per-views. They're not subscribing to the network. It's the adults and the people looking for the nostalgia that are doing that.
No, yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I didn't get to watch the pay-per-views because I got a $5 or $10 allowance allotted to me a week. I couldn't afford a $59.99 pay-per-view every month. Are you kidding me? My parents wouldn't have went for that, so I just had to catch the recaps, and obviously back then the internet wasn't the mammoth thing that it is now, and it wasn't quite as easy to pirate shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't, a child. Yeah, they can get their parents to, pay for some things here and there, but they're not going to be able to dip into their pockets and contribute to the product the way that a rabid adult fan would. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they catered to those people, like if they gave Cesaro a fucking push and talented people and just treated it more seriously and like knew what they were doing, I just feel like they could turn things around.
So what you're saying is you had no childhood.
I had a childhood. I mean, I was a big wrestling fan. Just because I didn't see the pay-per-views didn't mean that I didn't, get a lot out of wrestling at the time. I had friends come over and we would put on matches on my trampoline. I would do swanton bombs off of a ladder onto my trampoline. I don't know how I didn't fucking break a bone.
You ever make anyone cry?
Yes, actually. My finisher was actually a move where I kicked the guy in the gut and they bent down, and then I would jump up, and before landing on my back, I would clamp both of my heels together on the person's jaw. Now, obviously, I understood that wrestling was fake and it was a worked thing, but I connected with my friend Jeremy, who lived down the street, and he bit his tongue and bled profusely from his mouth.
That's awesome.
And, yeah, well, depending on how you look at it, it was kind of awesome for me, feeling like I just, actually...
I was telling my girlfriend that I was making my friends cry when we were playing wrestling when I was a kid, and I was hitting them with Tupperware lids, and they were crying. Those were my steel chairs. So I was hitting them with the lids, and she said, "That's awful," and I'm like, "Well, it was the Attitude Era."
That's another thing, man. I know, like, some like wrestling purists will criticize you for saying this, but the lack of brutality, like the lack of chair shots to the head and blading, I'm sorry, with blood feuds and cell matches and stuff, that not being present hurts the overall feel of it. Do you agree with that? Because I'm sorry, kendo sticks to the back, that's just not cutting it for me.
I can do without the chair shots to the head. I miss them, but I understand why they don't do them.
Yeah, you fully.
Here's what I could go without. How about the steel stairs when they put someone's head down and then they put the V shape around?
Oh, like the Wyatt family did with Kane?
Yes.
What an impactful debut they made.
They did that twice to two different people, and both times it was cringy.
Yeah, and then you had that stairs match at the last pay-per-view with Rowan and Big Show. That was awful. Stairs match. I mean, the stairs can be...
hey, when you're a big guy, stairs can be quite intimidating.
Yeah, they can be used correctly. Like, I remember one of my favorite spots out of that Kane-Shane McMahon feud that I mentioned earlier from the early 2000s. One of the big turning points, or one of the big spots, was him getting tombstoned on the steps, which that was okay. A tombstone, like a pile driver on the steps, that works,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you keep up. I don't watch it, but I listen to different podcasts and read the dirt sheets, so I know what Jeff Hardy's been up to in TNA, and he took a really sick stair bump the other week, or it might have been like quite a while ago. I think they do a lot of their tapings in advance.
Yeah, I'm hearing mixed things on that. I hear that it was set up.
What do you mean?
I heard that the injury is exaggerated because he can't make it to Britain because of some drug charge.
Yeah, I heard that too. I'm not one of these people that think like it was an accident or whatever, that he's like, dead. I'm just saying, like, I know that it was a calculated thing that he did on purpose, but...
Well, that's how it was reported, because it landed on TMZ and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the people in attendance were shocked because it was such a gnarly-looking bump. Because he landed, badly. Like, you can't really see it.
It was a bad-looking bump.
Were you able to find footage that showed it clearly? Because I just saw, cam video from the audience. I don't think that pay-per-view has aired yet, but, there's got to be some better footage. Otherwise, I don't know what people are talking about. I just know from, word of mouth, people writing about it or blogging. You there?
Yes, I haven't seen anything else about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't watch TNA, but I was just kind of curious, like when that's going to air, because I kind of want to see this guy kill himself.
He'll kill himself in due time. Just you wait.
Yeah. So you were taking notes during Smackdown, which.
Yeah. So we started off with we decided to do Smackdown just so we can, because it's the bane of our existence. And tonight's the return of Daniel Bryan. He's been gone with a major injury. He had no feeling in his arm.
Yeah.
First match back. They're trying to get people to watch the change in nights to Thursdays. And it starts off with Daniel Bryan and Kane. Daniel Bryan looks really unsure of himself, a bit shaken up. But he was performing almost up to par, well enough. And
adequately.
Adequately. I'm not sure he got the reaction he deserved because SmackDown audiences are generally lethargic. Even if a Daniel Bryan is there, they know they still have to deal with the rest of the show after.
Well, I've read throughout the years that they pipe in fake.
Oh, they definitely do.
On SmackDown. So if he's not getting a huge reaction even with artificial pops, then what the fuck is going on?
And on Raw, they will turn down the crowd and they will turn the lightings off of them if they're attempting to hijack the show.
Yeah. Well, I think he got the biggest reaction out of anybody on Monday. Like he got a better reaction than the whole final segment with Lesnar. Is it just me, or like does Lesnar not even have that same aura anymore? He's just been gone for so long, and his title run has been just so shitty.
True, and we know so much about their plans that I don't think anyone has faith in the Lesnar stuff adding up to anything at Mania.
Well, we'll get back.
He may not even make it. He might not even make it to Mania.
Yeah, we'll get back to SmackDown, but I'm curious as to what you think is going to happen with Lesnar. Like, do you think he's leaving right after Mania after he drops the belt, or do you think he'll retain the belt?
He might drop it at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, but it's just I don't know the prospect.
I'd like him just because they fed him so many, like Undertaker, the Cena squash. He needs to be like the final boss at WrestleMania, whether he's like my guy or not.
Daniel Bryan, right? You're in agreement that Daniel Bryan should be in that match and not Reigns.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, because all right, we can't downplay Bryan's status as a main eventer. Like he's
the most over guy, probably more so than Cena.
Yeah,
just across the board.
People that's a marquee match. Lesnar versus Bryan, David versus Goliath, like
exactly.
That's a match that's never happened that would be just as compelling, if not more so, than the Punk Lesnar match, which was great, and everybody.
It's the only way that they can have a sequel to last year, have it believable, and hype it.
What do you mean a sequel?
Well, just the whole trajectory that Daniel Bryan had last year. This is the only way they could top it. The whole insurmountable odds. Lesnar's worth about 5 men, so yeah.
But I honestly don't. I know a lot of it's storyline, them not seeing him as an A+ player or whatever. But it's not like Austin or Rock. I can't see WWE giving Daniel Bryan the main event and a title win 2 years in a row at WrestleMania.
They should. They have no one else to give that to. Because it's not happening for Reigns. People aren't going to buy it.
No, it's not. I mean,
kids like him. I can already tell that the kids are liking him, but
have you seen the backlash from I hate saying this, but from the IWC, like his promos, like he's just a meme now.
Oh, he got booed on NXT before he came back
a couple of weeks ago. He made a backstage appearance. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know if it's his lack of charisma or promo skills. Maybe he has it in him, or
it's not his fault. I don't even think he gives bad promos in general. I think they're wanting him to do promos like The Rock and Cena, and he's not that kind of a person.
He's not that charismatic, is what you're saying.
No, he may be able to pull off these promos like he did in The Shield when he only has to say a couple words and act like a badass. But
is that enough for people? Like,
It's
I
enough.
think
It
people
got
shit
it
on-
got Brock Lesnar over.
Yeah, but he has Paul Heyman attached to him.
True.
I can't picture Roman Reigns with a,
Randy Orton isn't necessarily a great speaker.
No, but before he went away to do that movie.
He had one good promo, and everyone thought
Yeah,
he was
you're
suddenly a god to everyone. This is after a dozen years.
But it was just refreshing feeling after
It was.
the title run, like with the Authority and everything.
But I think people are blowing that out of proportion.
Yeah, they are. We'll just have to see, like, if he keeps that upward trajectory when he comes back. Like, because obviously he's going to be a face. He's probably going to be in the Rumble, or he's going to do something to, like, mess with the Authority or Rollins, which that'll get a huge pop. I know he's been back unofficially, like, at some live events, which I think is a weird move, like, because obviously that's going to be reported and stuff. I would have just kept it as a surprise and had his official return been, like, on TV, like on live television.
You wanted to talk about not Roman Reigns, Rollins?
Yeah, I was mentioning to you earlier, like, I've gone back and forth on seeing him as a believable main eventer since his, big push.
I think he's the best heel that they have right now.
Yeah, but yeah.
They're also letting him get away with a lot more. I mean, anyone could be capable of succeeding in there, depending on what they're letting him do. For some reason, they're letting Rollins get all the good stuff. And I think he's delivering, though.
Well, yes and no. I think it's a mixed bag. I think it's hit or miss with him, because I'm going to use these two examples. Tonight, his promo with Heyman, and I guess some of it you could attribute to Heyman, but a lot of it was Rollins' intensity. Like, when he was getting in his face, right then with, like, his dripping hair and his gloves and everything, he legitimately, like, not to use the term that they throw in your face every week on Raw, but he looked like, a future star. Like, he looked like the future of the WWE, like what a main eventer could look like.
Do you think just sometimes he looks too maybe cool and calm while he's giving his promos then? Not looking intense enough?
Yeah, I think he's gotten better on that, but the other example I was going to use was 2 weeks ago, that whole drawn-out 20-minute thing where he was hijacking or kidnapping, rather, Edge and Christian.
I loved that promo, though.
Really?
I did. He said he was going to kill somebody in the ring.
What are you going to do, John? Like, I think it might just be his voice. It's somewhat...
I loved it. I love the whole thing.
Do what?
I love that whole segment. Even the John thing. Yep.
I feel like it should have been condensed into 5 minutes, and it just was dragged out to high heaven.
I'll remember it because it was dragged out, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely memorable. I just saw a lot of people shitting on it, and, like, it really raised the question, is this the guy they should have gone with? Because you have to remember, Dean Ambrose, not so much now, but when he first turned face and, like, came out in the blue jeans, like, he was more over than all three of them, the Shield guys. And now that he's, like, lost, and, not to get on different subjects, but
he popped out of one too many trunks and Christmas presents and Coney Island hot dog vendor stands.
I don't think that's the problem, though, because with a baby face that's likable, like with the women and even in the kids, and, like, he's universally liked. Like, the women think he's good looking, the kids, can get behind him, and adult guys think he's cool.
Yeah, but people wanted him to be the next Austin, and he's turning into...
Well, they wanted that for Bryan.
George the Animal Steel or something.
Yeah, but I think, all right, his comedic side works at times. I think they might have overdone it over the last couple of months.
They did.
But it works because he has a personality for it. The thing that's killed him is losing over and over. Like, didn't he lose every match with Wyatt over the last couple of months? Like, I think he won one by way of DQ, and that's it. So he just looks like there's no reason to believe in him. Like, there's no reason to, like, suspend your disbelief and get behind him because he's a loser. That's what they've conditioned us to think, is that Dean Ambrose is a loser.
It's just that Rollins...
Can you argue with that?
It doesn't bother me so much. I don't see the stigma when they lose like other people do.
You don't think wins and losses matter?
I know that they matter. I know that they matter to other people. They don't matter to me because I know what's going on behind the scenes that are the horrible decision making. I'm just so involved thinking about that I don't. It doesn't ruin their reputation for me. I just blame other people besides them.
Well, it's just he looks like a bumbling idiot. A baby face is, the heels are supposed to get.
I think it makes him look. It makes him look stupider to go out and stand on top of a ladder and tell you to buy the pay-per-view for the entire month. Instead of doing promos like that, they should be making shit happen like with Austin. They should be telling a story, not just kicking Bray Wyatt's ass and getting on top of a ladder week after week. And, telling you to watch TLC.
He's another one. He has long-term potential and a huge upside. So you're right. They can kill him right now, unless they had him, coming out there in a sombrero and like a thong. There's pretty much nothing you could do to completely bury the guy. He's over enough, and he's talented and charming enough to where he's got a secure position.
But Rollins is doing the stuff that I want to see Ambrose do, which is what suddenly Rollins just clicked for me.
You want Ambrose to be a heel, or do you mean you just want to see him like more prominently featured and like to win and get one over?
Just some of the antics, like the curb stomping, always badass. It's a great move. Curb stomping someone's head through cinder blocks, that's pretty badass.
Did you see though on Monday? Lesnar sold the curb stomp great. I think he was even like bleeding a little from his forehead. He sold it even better than the first one. But did you see? Oh God, it made me cringe. Did you see the way Cena was like crawling in the position for that curb stomp? Because he was like really out of position for it. He was like facing the wrong way. If you go back and watch that, it was just a little thing that really bothered me.
Oh shit! I still need to get stomped.
Yeah, like I hate Cena's selling of that move more than just about anything on TV right now. So that's why I want him to be separated from Seth.
Do we even need to talk about Cena on our show? I think it just goes without saying.
I think enough people talk about him. Like, there's what can be said. Cena sucks. Blah blah blah. I mean, he's valuable.
That doesn't mean we accept him. It just means that we don't.
Well, I think people are a little too hard on him. He's not garbage. Like, he's put on some good matches, and I think it's just.
I think that's. I disagree.
You don't think he's ever.
I think he's put on some good matches thanks to other people.
But that's how it is. It takes two to tango. You have chemistry with people. Like.
Well, I mean, in the same way that.
You think Daniel Bryan could have put on a good match with Great Khali?
Cesaro could.
Yeah. I think he did, right? Before Khali got released, he did one or two spots where he did the Cesaro swing.
I'll give it to Khali. I went to a house show, and I understand why they keep the big guys, specifically because of that. Because
like what
on TV,
earlier,
yes,
spectacle of it.
On TV he fails, but when you're at the house show and you see Khali, you're like, oh, that guy's fucking huge, and then that's all you think. Visually, when you're there, it has a different effect.
So yeah, I guess that's why Andre the Giant was really over, because if you saw him in person, and a lot of people went out to WWE events back then, like they came out in droves. It was like, look at this behemoth. Not even TV does him justice. The cameras don't even do these people justice.
They actually don't.
I don't know. I think I've been to two house shows. I've never been to a Raw, a Smackdown, or a pay-per-view. I went to two house shows as a kid, and I don't remember seeing Big Show, but I remember seeing Albert, and even thinking A-Train was big. So if I had seen, one of the, so-called giants, then I probably, would have been just like you and been really impressed with just, the spectacle and the sight of somebody that gargantuan. My God.
I saw Big Show fight Kane from like the 11th row. It was like a 2,000 capacity tent.
When
like a freaking it's like an outdoor carnival when they still did tours to places that shouldn't have even been on the map.
When was this?
This was during the Attitude Era. It was 1999.
Oh, so back when Big Show and Kane hadn't overstayed their welcome.
Yes, and from that up close, they are freaking monsters.
Did you? I know I've like rambled on about Kane.
I saw Ron Simmons at the Old Country Buffet.
Oh, nice. Did you go up to him and go, damn?
It was before the damn. I got his autograph.
Oh,
I wish it was after. I would have loved to say, happy birthday, damn, and then he signs my autograph.
That would have been good. But I'm just curious, this is completely out of left field, but because Kane has been one of my favorite wrestlers, and not necessarily for his skills, but because of the character. What did you think of his masked return from 2011, which is actually the year when you started watching again?
Oh, a mask under a mask? I thought he came out. First of all, I just couldn't stop focusing on his suit. It was the outfit.
Dude, I popped for that. That was like the last time that Kane gave me that feeling. You know, like what? Like
the welder's mask was cool.
Well, I thought the original version of his, because I don't know if you've noticed, because it was a kind of gradual, but his mask that he came back with that year changed quite a few times. Like there were like 3 different iterations of it, and it eventually ended up as like this weird dorky looking like flat leather version.
Yes.
But it was actually really badass looking, like for the first month or 2 he was there. But then, you know, he got into that horrible storyline with Cena and Ryder and Eve, and suddenly I wasn't too impressed with his return. So, you know, but when he first came back and just like laid out Cena, and then the next week came out and like choked him on the table and like Cena bled, that was awesome. Like I think people were like unanimously like, all right, Kane has actually something to contribute still. But now with this corporate Kane and Slacks thing, it's just gone on too long, and I have no interest in seeing him.
You see, for me, even when Kane was before he took the mask off, when he was using his voice box to say "suck it" while he was tag teaming with X-Pac, he kind of lost me at that point.
When they first started humanizing him?
Yes.
It was going to happen eventually, though.
It didn't need to. It didn't happen to The Undertaker for fucking forever until they did the American Badass, and they could have gone without that, in my opinion.
But Undertaker never had the same restrictions as Kane did. He didn't have a mask, and he actually spoke, albeit, you know, in the beginning it was rest in peace. You know, he didn't say much, but Kane literally, there was no facial expressions, no voice or anything, and like, it's wrestling, you know, aside from John Cena, everybody fucking evolves. So I think what Kane became, like when he came back in like 2002, I want to say, with that half mask that showed his mouth, that was still good Kane. And even when he
it was passable.
But then you had Uncle Fester Kane from like the mid 2000s to 2011, and that was just, you know,
unfortunate.
Yeah, and I didn't even watch that time period, but I've gone back and watched, you know, DVDs and stuff, and he was fat and nobody gave a shit.
I just don't know why they brought him back with that welder's mask, the other mask underneath it, but then his outfit, he had like the shittiest flames going up his leg.
It looked budget. It looked very budget, and also like the red like barbed wire design that was like going up.
It was like cheap stitches.
Yeah, but that was like a continuation of the tights he had been wearing for years. But you're right, it didn't look good.
It didn't even look as good as the 90s stuff, though. Why would your gear... It looked like an 80s version of Kane, except the masks. The masks were fine. But his gear, otherwise, it looked fucking dumb. It looked like some backyard wrestler trying to recreate Kane's gear.
But you can't argue that even that looked better than the slacks that he's wrestling in now. I mean, he looks like just somebody's dad, or like an insurance broker out there wrestling every week.
To be honest, though, I'd rather see him like this than to go back to the Kane gimmick again, to the big red monster.
Because it's just like too many times nobody would even buy into it. You know.
Just stop flipping and flopping.
I really hope he retires this year. As much as a fan of his that I am or was, because I can't really get into him now. I just really hope that him and Big Show ride off into the sunset somehow. Before people really start to resent them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
So what'd you think of that main event?
Tonight?
Yes.
Oh, you probably already realized this, but I was only half watching. I'm so desensitized to these 6-man tag matches every week. It's just...
Doesn't matter who's in it. It's just repellent.
I paid attention to the stipulation that was added at the end for Bryan's next match next week, and he won't be in the Rumble if he loses, which there's no way they're going through with that after the way they disappointed people last year. Would you agree? Remember when Mysterio came out and like they were like,
poor Rey Mysterio.
I don't really sympathize with him. He's kind of a dick. He's like at home the last year or so collecting a paycheck and like complaining about WWE shackling him and not setting him free.
That is true though. They keep extending his contract on him.
Well, I guarantee you he's making just as much money sitting at home working for them or, not working for them than he would, wrestling in Lucha Underground or...
But I think it says something about him that he'd rather be wrestling in Lucha Underground.
But can he? His knees are shot.
His knees are shot in standards, their health standards at WWE.
So you think he should... Well, yeah, if you're hurt and you realize...
WWE almost didn't hire Daniel Bryan at the beginning because he had some, like, weird heart palpitation thing going on, and he needed some extensive tests before they went to hire him.
I've never heard that in my life.
They're so strict about who they hire. That's why you haven't seen Kevin Steen for, like, 3 months after they signed him, because they had to make sure he was in condition.
Like, let's see if Fatty has a heart attack.
Yeah. So they're so strict that Rey Mysterio, he might have matches in him right now, but because he can't fulfill a certain requirement, he's benched.
Yeah.
And because he's benched, they can just keep extending the contract over and over.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I guess it sucks. I kind of see that side of it now. Mm-hmm. But I have no interest in seeing him in a match.
I would in Lucha. I would. There's people in Lucha Underground right now where I would say I would have had no interest seeing them in a match, and now that I've seen them there, I'm pleasantly surprised. So
what other matches that have taken place in that promotion that you would recommend? Because I only saw the triple threat ladder match that you linked me to.
Chavo Guerrero.
You mean Kerwin White? Because I read that he was continuing that gimmick, the caddy gimmick. No, was that
no.
Oh damn!
Chavo Guerrero versus the midget. That'll go down in the sands of time. And Chavo Guerrero versus the woman. That was excellent.
These are actual names for performers?
Oh, I just don't remember who the other people don't matter.
I thought these were like some gimmick, like some stable that they were just like painfully like stereotyped and just we don't want to come up with a name for them, so we'll just call them what they are.
There's been some good matches. The problem is I can't remember these luchadors just yet. I know Prince Puma.
To remain functioning adults that have somewhat of a life, we can only clear out enough space in our heads for enough wrestling. So it's no fault of yours for not retaining some information about Lucha Underground. I'll give you a pass on that one. But I was going to say, before you get off on another topic, I know you have a fascination with midgets.
Yes.
Little people. Would you be completely interested in a all little people federation? Like, would that...
They tried that, didn't they? Wasn't Hogan hosting a all midget wrestling show? Didn't it go under?
Did they?
Yes, within the past couple of years.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear about that.
I never tuned in.
Well, neither did I.
I guess it just came up a little short.
Oh, God. Line of the night. Oh.
No, but really, it did exist.
Yeah. Well, I listened to a really good podcast that kind of like inspired me to want to do this called The Sala Monster. And he's been like campaigning saying that they should build a division around El Torito and have a minis division in WWE. Do you think that
They used to have, back in the 90s, they would sometimes just call the minis in to fill out a pay-per-view. They'd have, like, 4 or 5 midgets. And a lot of indie promotions still travel with, like, midget wrestlers and have these gimmick matches.
No, yeah, I know that it exists. I know that it's not some, like, foreign concept. But would that work in the climate
if
of
it
WWE today?
Maybe on Smackdown, those audiences can use a little cheer,
Oh God.
a little midget cheer.
I don't. It would probably just end up feeling like more comedy filler, you know, like if they actually.
I liked the WLC match.
Oh, between Hornswoggle and
the little ladder.
Yeah, Jesus, I never would have thought about that.
I popped for that.
Was that still when Three Man Band was under contract?
Yes.
Oh God.
Those poor souls.
That was kind of shocking to me. I don't know why.
That's what happens when you reach for the brass ring and really accept your gimmick. They turn on you. It's just like Brodus Clay. They turned on him. He actually went out there and danced like an idiot for him.
That didn't surprise me when they released Brodus Clay because he wasn't being utilized. He was a heel that was like wearing suits and coming out on main event, but
then they wonder why no one's accepting their gimmicks or playing them up. Because
he wasn't prominently featured though. 3MB, they were. Like up until the week that they were released and that whole statement was put out.
Why keep Heath Slater?
Huh?
Why keep Heath Slater?
Yeah, I know. They're not even doing anything with him. I mean, he was in that stupid Slater Gator tag team with O'Neal for a few weeks, but that went fucking
What do you think of Titus O'Neal? Because I think he could be a lot bigger than he is.
I heard a lot of people saying that. I personally...
He has the charisma.
Yeah, he's funny. He would have to be a face. But I just don't know, like, and excuse me for saying this, people, I am in no way a racist, but when I look at Titus O'Neal, I think of the word jigaboo. Do you know what I'm saying? He has that, like, heart of the jungle Africa look to him, and it's not I have a problem.
I think more of Mark Henry.
He doesn't even look like that to me. I think WWE is a little racist in that they've never fully.
Yes, it's their fault.
Yes, they've never gotten behind a black.
They made you racist.
Yes. No, that's the thing though. I'm not saying that he shouldn't achieve anything or be a big star. I just can't see them getting behind him because they've never, aside from Bobby Lashley, which was featured when I wasn't even watching. When is the last time they've gotten behind a black competitor and like pushed him as like a main eventer? Aside from Mark Henry.
Mark Henry almost got pushed to that level.
He had one main title match with Cena after that brilliant swerve, the whole retirement thing, which was like the last good thing I remember him doing. But in 2011, or it might have been 2010, I can't remember, it's kind of foggy, he had that monster heel run as the World Heavyweight Champion, but everybody knows that was the secondary title. I mean, he wasn't.
Is that the one where he was unstoppable and he was going against Big Show? They were breaking the ring and...
Yeah, and he beat Orton clean to win the title.
Yep.
Like, that was cool. I mean, he deserved it for sticking.
I was ready to see more, but it went nowhere.
I wouldn't say it went nowhere. It just it
fizzled out.
Course, and then people fluctuate between being, I don't want to say an upper card. People fluctuate from being a mid carder to a main eventer. Sometimes it's not like with like Cena and Orton where you're just constantly in the main event. There's people that go back and forth, and obviously that was going to happen to Henry. He's old and he's a big man. He's like what? How much does he weigh? Do you think?
Yeah, at least 160 pounds.
Yeah, I'd say I'd round down a little. He's probably $150. But no, like you couldn't expect them to keep him in like the semi-main event for long. But then it's just like, then in the last year or so, he has contributed nothing. Like when he came back bald, he was losing to Rusev. And
when he came back with cancer.
Oh God. I really missed the Susan G. Komen stuff they were doing on TV.
Oh yeah, that's always pleasant.
Yeah, just reminding us of cancer and all the horrible things in life. I mean, I guess it was cool because it was like all the ones that survived in the front.
Why does it need to be a month though?
Yeah,
just be a week,
year round. No, but like it's
feel good show.
They can do like media events and like press releases, and they can like publicly state that they, contribute to these good causes, but I don't think any wrestling fan really cares to see that on the show. Do you know what I mean? Like, they'll politely applaud and stuff, but it was a waste of space.
Were you
really.
disgusted when they had the veteran get up and walk a couple weeks ago? With his new prosthetic limbs or whatever?
Disgusted by how, sickeningly,
patriotic?
Yes, that stuff bothers me. I was not, crying.
That felt like one of those evangelical Christian, you're healed kind of things.
Yes, it felt forced and just
creepy,
phony, and it rubbed me the wrong way, and I didn't people. I saw people responding to it nicely online and stuff, and I'm thinking, well, I guess that's just because people are scared to say anything bad about military and veterans. Gotta love the veterans. And I respect them to a certain extent, but me and my dad have this thing where we don't get the just constant adoration of veterans, just because they're a veteran that makes them more special. And you're right, that whole segment just felt weird, and it just like
I
the
hated
Coleman
it.
thing, it had no business being on television.
No,
not in wrestling. I wanted to see that. I could, that's fine if that's on the Daily News or whatever. As
yes,
a 30-second clip, but as a professional wrestling segment, and that's another problem. WWE tries to be really righteous and this great. What's the word I'm looking for? They try to.
They try to do everything. They try to be an entertainment company and a family show, variety show.
Yeah, variety, but they try to perpetuate this family image, and they're this giving corporation, and it's I don't know, it just comes off as lame. And
did you hear what Jerry Lawler said about The Miz?
No. Tonight, you mean?
Yes, he said Miz only makes terrible movies.
Oh God, terrible movies.
Those are your movies.
Yeah. Oh, God,
that's WWE rubbing it in your face that they just sold you shit for anyone who bought those movies.
Yeah, and it's just like JBL bearing the Ascension. Not that I'm behind the Ascension, but he's like, these guys couldn't even tie the boots of Demolition and the Road Warriors. And it's really? 2 weeks in, and these guys are being buried by the people on commentary. And
did you see the Big Show's promo about the Royal Rumble?
The backstage one?
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
Did you think what I thought? Who can throw me over the top rope?
Oh, God. Yeah, that's laughable. Because so many people have done it over the years.
Chris Benoit.
Yeah. Who can throw me over the top rope?
The year he won the Rumble.
Yeah, it's lines like that really makes you think that they think their fans are stupid.
I know you
said
really
do.
They do.
Don't acknowledge that there's an educated, informed group of people out there that follow this shit.
Here's the things they think we like. We like, since I started watching again, we evidently like Three Stooges remakes. We like Will Sasso coming out pretending to be Hulk Hogan, pretending to be Curly, pretending to be Hulk Hogan.
Most Def.
We like Kathy Lee and Rhoda.
Oh, dude, that had been erased from my memory. I was never gonna think about that again until you brought it up. That
happened.
Most cringeworthy moment of 2014.
They had to keep playing the Adam Rose music to block out the boos, and it was so obvious.
Oh yeah. But there's a fundamental problem with the people that run that show.
Grumpy Cat.
That I get why they would promote that, because they had a hand in I think the movie or something. They had something to do with it where it was cross promotional. But the Kathy Lee and Hoda thing, a lot of people like Grumpy Cat, even hardcore wrestling probably think he's cute.
It's also a little past though the prime of that meme.
It's definitely past its peak of popularity, but what wrestling fan does Kathy Lee and Hoda appeal to? Who in their right mind backstage at these meetings brought that up and pitched that, thinking that it was a good idea, that it would be accepted and embraced? And that fans would respond to that in a good way. Like, I don't understand that. Like, they did weird, stupid shit in the Attitude
Then we're
Era,
having
but
Real Housewives of Atlanta.
oh, did that happen?
Yes. She had a backstage segment with the divas. Countless plugs from shitty USA channel network stars.
Yeah, I get the total divas stuff they do because that's their own show through and through. Like, that's something that they produce themselves. But what are they getting? Like, are they getting paid like in just heaps of like buckets of money from like these channels to promote their shitty reality shows? Is that it, or do they just think that they'll like get some of the people that watch those shows to watch wrestling? And it's not like it was in the Attitude Era where casual fans and just people that liked pop culture would tune in. Now it's a niche thing.
Betty White.
Again, that's kind of like the grumpy cat thing. She has enough universal appeal.
I could go without Betty White on Monday Night Raw.
Oh yeah, I could go without her in general.
There's a thousand names you could get in there before Betty White.
Yeah, I think old people being inappropriate, they're not supposed to say those things because that's what young people do. I've always thought that humor was not my cup of tea anyways, but I can look at it from an objective point of view and realize that some people that watch wrestling also think Betty White is cute or funny.
It's such a minuscule amount, though, that it shouldn't be entertained.
Right. Yeah. I can
there was
that.
one I liked. Who's the guy who played Wolverine? I liked his segments.
Hugh Jackman. Yeah, Hugh Jackman punching Ziggler, I think it was, and like teaming with Ryder.
And Sandow as Magneto.
Yeah. That was okay because like he has done interviews and stuff, and he's like a lifelong like big fan, and like even Seth Green being on there from years ago, like some guest celebrity appearances have been warranted and feel fine. You know, it's not taking away. But in the last couple of years, it just shows how much that Vince McMahon and all of his yes men have really just lost touch with like what's cool in pop culture.
I know we said we didn't want to talk about Cena, but I'm going to bring up, why do you think Cena and Orton have been coddled in that top position for so long? They're not the big draws that The Rock and Austin were.
No, but the WWE think that they're the closest thing to that, and that it's not achievable to get anybody on that same level. I think, don't hold me to this, that they're finally realizing that Daniel Bryan is, but they kind of resent him, I think. And I know they play this up. They play this storyline, but I think legitimately backstage they resent him for getting over organically. It's like they have this sick fetish where they want
Vince McMahon always wants to be the guy who created.
Yes, that's what.
Did you see the article about how they won't call Sting, the press release, not to call Sting Sting? They need to call him the Vigilante Sting, and they copyrighted the Vigilante Sting.
That's what I'm saying. They have to produce their stars, and if they feel like Sting is gonna get off the coals of his past, which that's all it can be because he never had any success or anything in WWE, they're going to feel the need to alter it and put their own stamp on it.
And they did it with Kenta and Prince Devitt and Kevin Steen. They all had to come in and change their names. They actually advertised them all under their real names and then had them formally come out and change their names.
Yeah,
they picked their names. It was kind of like slaves picking their new American names.
Exactly. The one that I don't have a problem with is Prince Devitt. I don't think that name would have gotten over. Not that I think Finn Balor is an amazing name, but taking Kenta's name, like, that's easy to remember.
It was badass.
It's easy to spell. You know, we know that a demographic of wrestling fans that are illiterate and autistic, and not autistic because some autistic people are actually very bright. but they're dyslexic. That's the word I'm looking for. There's dyslexic fans out there that won't
There's
be able to spell
dyslexic
Hideo.
autistics.
Yes, and they won't be able to spell Hideo Itami. Whereas Kenta, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters.
It's
relatively
catchy.
Easy to. Yeah, and Kevin Owens, I thought that's unnecessary to change. But
Still think
maybe,
Steen rolls off the tongue better.
Yeah, but maybe they thought that the KO thing would be.
That's
easier
what will sell it.
Yeah, KO. That's smart. But the Hideo Itami thing, that was just asinine. I couldn't believe that. And I haven't kept up with Kenta or any of these guys on the independent circuit. Based on what I read and things I hear, are you impressed in NXT?
I was impressed by the Devitt Kenta tag team match from the last pay-per-view. I thought that was fun.
That first viewing of them individually, I think I had seen one Kenta match, like a quick thing, so it really wasn't enough of a.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't impressed with that tag match.
I liked it.
With was the Tyson Kidd last night. That's what sold me on Finn Balor. His entrance in that tag match was like, whoa.
That was amazing. There's no reason he shouldn't be a top player on the main roster.
But he is kind of small. But then again, no, he's not. Maybe he just seems that way.
He's in better shape than CM Punk was.
Yeah, and he's probably about the same height. You know, he's not like a huge jacked up bodybuilder, but
and he appeals to the smart fans, and he appeals to your juggalos who want to see him come out in fucking crazy face paint and shit, and kids who want to buy an action figure.
I was looking at that guy last night, and I almost wanted to lock myself in my bedroom and masturbate based off of the mental image of him coming out. Right? It's.
I too masturbate to his theme song quite frequently.
He looks like a male model. He's a good-looking guy. I had seen him before, but I really saw in his match last night. I was like, this guy is more of a pretty boy than Roman Reigns. I don't even think Roman Reigns is that much of a pretty boy, which is one of the things that a lot of people throw out there,
mm-hmm.
to talk shit about him. He's kind of like, I get he's jacked up and shit, but he's not exactly that handsome. He's just got that rugged look. But yeah, I think Prince Devitt could, or whatever. What's his name? Finn Balor.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could appeal to pretty much just about everybody in the audience. That's a problem though. It's why groom these guys for months and months or years, and then put them on the main roster when you could just skip that with these guys that have big. I get it with people that are just now getting into the business.
They're untraining them.
They're what?
They're untraining them.
Oh yeah, teaching them not to use other styles.
Yep, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, only the WWE stuff.
They're making sure that their repertoire. They don't want their repertoire to intimidate people like Orton and Cena.
You know what? Sadly, you're probably. You want the marginally talented, more talented than they are.
Mm-hmm. One of my, I was gonna when I brought up Cena and Orton earlier, I was going to say my feeling is kind of they built these guys up so much that they can't afford to lose them, not because they're drawing people, but because they could go to TNA or something and potentially start.
Yeah, what would that say? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
About Cena and Orton and their drawing ability and whether or not they're the mega stars, superstars that they make them out to be, and whether or not it would hurt WWE if they were to go to TNA or any of these other organizations. And I think I was trying to finish your thought. Were you trying to say that if Cena and Orton went to another promotion that they would have legitimate competition?
Yes.
Okay,
remember
yeah,
when
the
they
whole thing.
remember when they lost? I'm sure from watching the documentaries and whatnot, all the archive footage. WCW started getting all of WWF's old talent, and that's when they started getting ratings. Like when they lost Macho Man to WCW and Hogan. I think they don't want to repeat that by getting rid of Orton or Cena. They've built them up so big that anyone else could take them now and
But
be legitimized.
here's the thing. I agree with you, but I also disagree because I think back then in the late 90s and even before then, it was all about the talent. It was about who you had. It was about the wrestlers. Now, WWE has monopolized the business. They are, to repeat the phrase I used earlier, they're the only game in town. They,
I think I think they have competition in the indie scene as a whole. I think
really though.
I
Like,
think the indie scene is becoming more predominant on the net, and there's now ways to watch all these
Yes.
different organizations, and there's not one company on their own that's competition, but the whole vibe that's going on there and what all those wrestlers are doing is competition. I think.
Yeah, but are there's a difference between alternatives to what we're seeing on WWE and competition to WWE. In the grand scale of it, think about like WWE is like $1 billion corporation. It's not just wrestling anymore. It's movies, it's franchised, things they sell, like toys, action figures,
Shitty toys,
t-shirts,
shitty
like,
movies.
yeah, it's shitty everything, but there's still like this big mammoth, ridiculously successful company. They might not be successful right now in the eyes of the fans in terms of their storylines and
They're successful in spite of themselves.
yeah, that's a good way of wording it. So I just don't think I don't know, it'd have to be a long time from now for another company to truly build themselves up to being even half of what WWE is and being at that level. But like you said, there's like this conglomeration right now of all these different little feds that do provide an alternative and some sort of competition, because guys like us, if this shit keeps up much longer with WWE, we'll probably find ourselves directing our attention towards those things more and more, and eventually other people will follow suit, and that could actually feasibly put a dent in WWE's ratings and just overall success.
It could.
But the thing is, it's kind of laughable when you hear Jeff Jarrett say things like there's going to be another wrestling boom when there's really no indication of that. If you look at a wrestling boom as there being more federations and more options around, then I guess you could throw that term around. But to me, what a wrestling boom is the surge in popularity that it experienced in the 80s with Hulkamania, and then
rock and wrestling.
yeah, and then when it peaked again in the late 90s and got even fucking bigger. So there isn't an evolution. Like, if you think about it in terms of the timeline from the 80s peak and the 90s peak, we're like long past the point where there should have been another quote unquote boom. And I just think that ship has sailed. I think wrestling from now on will be in this thing. It's kind of like comic books. I see a lot of these fans now, like there's a lot of nerdy wrestling fans. It's not a group of frat boy and like guys and like trailer trash like in the late 90s that you would see in those audiences. There's a lot of nerdy comic book, maybe even like liberal types that really like wrestling. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed there's like
unbeknownst to Vince McMahon?
Yeah, he doesn't want to acknowledge that because he wants wrestling to be relevant in like Hollywood and like with normal people. He doesn't want wrestling to be a niche thing, but I just don't see it ever being on that level. But to your point, people will start turning their attention towards Lucha Underground and all this other stuff because it just provides more mature content for fans like us, and it's more about the matches, and they actually think about the booking, it seems like. And who knows? We'll see with like this whole new. I think New Japan has some sort of distribution deal for their pay-per-views in the U.S., right?
There's going to be a 13 show series airing. I think it starts in a couple days, airing weekly. Limited run.
Okay. Do you have the El Rey network, or do you even have cable?
No.
So you catch up on Lucha Underground purely on YouTube?
Yes.
Do they air entire episodes on there, or like in order to view all of that, would I have to go to their website or like bootleg it? Because I have cable, but I'm not entirely sure that I have El Rey, and it's doubtful because I have Charter cable, and it's not a very good cable provider.
No, they're not. Oh, you can get Lucha Underground on YouTube, pretty much in whole episodes. They do matches on their official channel. They'll put full matches, but you can normally find it if you're looking for it.
Okay.
And like stuff like Ring of Honor puts up their show every week for free right on their website.
Okay. Yeah, because honestly, I know we like kind of started this podcast on the premise of like discussing WWE and bashing it, whatever you want to call it. But if this shit, the way it is now, if it doesn't get substantially better, and I know people say this, but I'm serious with this isn't an empty threat. I will probably just start like keeping up with what's going on in WWE by looking up like results and shit, which is not hard to do, and I will get my actual wrestling fix by watching the shows that are putting on good entertainment. And I don't know if that's how you feel. I don't know if you're a lifer WWE fan that will always watch no matter what, but I did just fine. I can
only take so much.
Yeah, I did just fine for half a decade, and by what you said earlier, it sounds like you ducked out of the game a lot sooner than I did in the early 2000s. So
yes.
It's no guarantee. I think WWE is very content, and they feel comfortable, and they think that people are going to stay loyal to them.
I think
for the long
everything we want to see is going down in the indies right now. And we're just waiting for WWE to catch up.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to downplay what you were saying, and I actually agree now that I think about it with what you were saying more, that we could I wouldn't word it like Jeff Jarrett did as like a wrestling boom, but we could see more like the tides turning in terms of like these other promotions gaining traction and like converting like the hardcore IWC type fans. Like we could actually see that. Like it's almost becoming
a regional, like another territory thing, like it was in the 80s again.
Exactly. TNA failed to like provide a real alternative to WWE and be competition, but that doesn't mean that these other organizations don't have a chance. So I don't think that WWE will ever have real competition again, but who knows? People might just get sick of it if they keep booking their shows like this and shoving these shit storylines down our throats.
It's only a matter of time before, if they stay PG, it's only a matter of time before another company comes up that's going to show people real wrestling. That's not catered to rednecks and juggalos. That's actually
TNA was like, let's be honest, it had blood and more hardcore and adult content, but like I mentioned earlier, there's like this subcategory now of like geeky like comic book fans of wrestling that they don't want to watch that shit either because it makes them feel dirty and sleazy, like, ew, I'm a wrestling fan. But when I watch like Lucha Underground or something, I don't feel that way at all. I just feel like, wow, this is performance art. Or like NXT, which is WWE, but you would never know it judging by how like different it is. It's like night and day between what we see on Raw every week.
And evidently Vince McMahon is bitter about NXT's success. Did you read that?
No, I haven't read that.
There was an article saying there's a feeling that Vince McMahon is soured on NXT talents coming up because he thinks that they are overrated.
Oh God!
And he resents the implication that NXT could be putting on better pay-per-views than the main roster.
Yeah. Watch that Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville main event from last night's NXT and tell me that they're overrated. I would love to hear that from the horse's mouth. I would probably punch him in the mouth.
I wonder if he's ever watched NXT.
Well, yeah.
I bet you Vince's favorite guy on NXT is that hippie.
Oh, CJ Parker. God. What do you... All right, we're going to wrap it up here in a second, but while we're on NXT, I've gotten some shit from a few of my friends for being behind this guy since he's only put on, like, 40-second matches. But I like his overall aura, and I think he has a really strong presence. What do you think of
I know who you're talking about, and right now he's just a look.
Yeah.
He has the look, though.
Here's the thing. One of my things with him was he's doing this impressive semi-unique finisher to all these smaller guys. Can he pull this off with people on the main roster? And if you check out NXT from last night, which you should if you haven't already, and it doesn't sound like you have because...
Not yet.
He did it to that Bull Dempsey guy, who, let's be honest, the only good thing about that guy is his theme music. Right? I don't know, maybe it's...
Can I just say that I don't think NXT should be the place to be doing squash matches. I think that these guys should be in actual matches, bettering themselves. That's kind of what it's for. You
might not be into it, and I might, I'm kind of the same. I want to see, like, lengthier matches from the guy before I really give a valid opinion on him. But he's over. Baron Corbin is, like, really over. The second he steps on the stage, you got guys like, ooh, 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 and then you got the girls like, ah! So, like, he's over.
I'm not sure they know why.
It's his look. Like, I've seen people online.
It's just the look.
I've seen people online comparing, like, saying he's the next Undertaker, which I think is really ridiculous. But
he can be more. But I have no reason to think that yet, just by watching him.
So he needs more time, obviously, and I guess.
And you got to remember that NXT crowd is a bunch of fucking yuppies from Full Sail,
who will chant "This is awesome" like after an armbar.
Yes.
Yeah,
they're more interested in hearing their own voices during the show than they are the matches.
Cool indie guy just did a hip toss. This is awesome.
The funniest thing I heard when I was at an NXT show, Emma got her bubbles sprayed into her eye by Summer Rae. And the entire crowd just starts chanting, EC Dub! EC Dub! That was the funniest chant I heard while I was there.
So like, sometimes they can be kind of funny, but other times they're just kind of, like, up their own ass, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It would still be fun, I think, to go. It's like a smaller environment. It probably feels like a little family to them,
It does. It's a fun show to go to, but there's a lot of dumb fucks in that crowd too.
Yeah. Well, any clothing thoughts? I
have some clothing thoughts. Stay warm. It's the winter. I don't know if that even counts. Does Texas have winter yet?
Yes. It starts just about.
Okay. Wear a coat. Wear a coat. Wear your fluffiest pants.
You do realize nobody's gonna listen to this, so you're addressing, like, dead air right now.
I'm addressing you.
Oh.
I don't want you to catch a cold, Cody.
Closing thoughts to your co-host, I see.
Yes.
Closing thoughts.
You're gonna have to wear a scarf and a hat because
the thoughts are usually reserved for listeners and viewers, Dan.
Most of the heat escapes from your head, so you're gonna want to wear a hat.
This isn't wrestling related at all. I'm never checking these guys out again. No, but yeah.
Stay tuned for our review and wrap up of the Royal Rumble and probably the month's worth of events leading up to it. The recap.
This is by God, working title, but we're probably gonna stick with it because it's fucking awesome.
Let's try it one more time.
1, 2, 3.
By God!
Oh, we sound nothing like JR.
No, but we'll sound more like him as we eat more of this barbecue sauce.
Yeah, I've never had that, by the way. I really want to try it.
I've never had it either.
As we do this, it's like, if we get listeners, we might do it more often. But as of right now, it's going to be like when we feel like it, and like after big pay-per-views, which is the basis that we're keeping it at right now. But this was really fun, and we hope you got something out of our weird analysis. God knows there's a lot of it on the internet, just about every...
All of our ranting. Well, we got it out of our system, so the next one should be...
Just about every fan now with half a brain, it seems like, has a podcast and think that they have a right to put their thoughts out there, and they think they should have millions of listeners. So this is nothing new. We're not claiming to be like different or anything, and we're not even doing this necessarily to get a following. But
now tell your friends.
Yes, but tell your friends, because just in case, if you do have a successful podcast, you get advertising opportunities, and we could actually bring in revenue. So,
and get ready to buy our shirts.
Yes, coming to a online store near you by at least 2019.
Oh yes. And we hope that you are in desperate need of a thermos.
A by God thermos.
By God.
Hey Dan, you're a graphic designer. You do a lot of things and projects, and we even have a band. By the way, you can check out at loversbeware.bandcamp.com. How about cooking up some cool designs for our show? With our a logo. We need a logo, bro.
What should it be?
I don't know. Maybe we should discuss that off air. Bye, folks.